action coordinator who did work at that office before, and once Virginia took office, got rid of her as well, who has experience as an activist, who has experience as a mobilizer. The president cannot do everything. That is why you build a team around you that is capable of the membership. And as I've told everyone on my team, this is not going to be a position on the executive board or as an officer where you go to conferences and go to conventions and go to dinner. You have to be willing to put in work. I'm not going to pretend to be able to be at every committee meeting or every board meeting or every this or every that. If I'm going to do it all around me, that's the reason that you're there, to help me represent us. So you will not take a back step in terms of activism. You will not take a back step in terms of fair and equitable contract, operating within the context of your existence. This district's deficit, no matter how we got there, this deficit is real. And anybody who sits up there and tells you that when this district is facing this type of a deficit, that they're trying to win an election, I'm going to give you the straight butter truth. And that is that we are going to have to navigate our way through these financial difficulties that are not of our creation. But the one thing I will commit to you is that no one is going to pass the cost on to our membership under my leadership. Thank you for that. One applause.
Well, we could talk all night.
You're doing a pretty good job of it. Question still, does everybody have,
You haven't asked one. I've been waiting on your question. You've always got something to say.
Yeah.
do we have to close schools?
I say yes, we do.
No, we don't. We don't have to close schools, and we don't have to take any cuts. It's all in the fight.
Do we have to lose personnel? Do we have to lose?
No. We can convince ourselves of it and end up losing it. Or we can fight and we can make gains. I'm not going to promise you huge pay gains or anything. When we fight, we will defend ourselves and we will achieve new gains. There's no doubt about it. And I'm going to promise you that if we don't fight, they're going to take, and you know what they're going to do when they take from us? They're going to say, thank you very much. We want more. Just like we saw GM, UAW, and American Axle. That's exactly what's going to happen. But we don't have to take that. There is an insistence on there for cuts.
Terrence, there is a, let me give you a couple of schools. One school, it has a capacity for 700 students and currently has 245. There's another school in the same neighborhood that has a capacity for 80 students and they have 154. But if you're talking about getting the optimum use out of every dollar that you have, it is inconceivable and financially irresponsible to keep a school open that is operating at less than half and less than a quarter of its capacity. When you could combine those, you could consolidate those schools and have those, and still have enough human resource and economic resource to reduce that class size and increase the quality of education for those students. Here in this area, Western International has 1,875 students right now. She was built to accommodate roughly 1,300. But you have Chadsey High School, which is a little over 1.25 miles away, Western High School, that is just over 1 mile away, neither of which has 600 students.
But isn't that...
Now, if you, here's the question that you have to ask yourself as you talk about getting the optimum use of every dollar that you have. Is it financially responsible to have one school 75 and two schools that combined don't even have 1,000, when both of them have a comparable capacity to Western International? You could put that would be what, around 1,000, almost 1,100 students into either Chadsey or to operate within the general framework of the governor's ideal size for a high school. But if you continue to operate under this perpetual blend of mismanagement, you continue to waste the opportunities to maximize the use of every dollar that you have. No close. Finney High School, where I currently teach, when I walked into that building on March the 2nd of 2007, Finney had 1,386 students. Finney now has 674. We are operating in just over a year at 1/2 of what we were a year ago. So if indeed we do have some schools that close, Finney is likely to be one of them.
Well,
Do I want to see it happen? No. But if I'm president and I'm looking at what is going to ultimately benefit my members, if consolidation of sites and services without the loss of personnel, you've got to act on the side of prudency and responsibility.
okay, what's going to happen, the real plan, though, is going to be to close Chadsey, and this is the plan. And then half those Chadsey students are going to charters, and the other half are coming here. And what are you going to do with them? That's the reality of school closings, okay? It's not going to save anything. It's going to take district enrollment down further and make the existing or the remaining schools even worse, even more troubled. That ever close a school? Of course not. But this wave of school closings is meant to destroy our schools. And there's no way at all you're going to get school closings without teacher layoffs. It's meant to force. They always tell the teachers, we're just doing this for financial, realities, and we're budgeting, and we're doing the responsible thing. And they get the teachers, and this has happened in city after city where they've been successful at this, get the teachers to sign on, at least the teachers' union leadership to sign on to school closings. Get the closings through, and then within, sometimes as short as I'll say to the teachers, we've got to lay you off. We've got fewer students, or whatever, any bag of reasons, we have to lay you off. And they make cuts. And they just do. They say, whatever's in the contract, well, too bad. We have emergency finances, we've got to lay you off. The union that begins by not fighting gets beat. The union that passes up the opportunity to work with the parents who are out there saying, don't close our children's school, that union gets beat. We can win these fights. As parents, at my daughter's school, Duke Ellington, when they tried to take one music teacher, and there was 2 teachers out. It's a school for the arts and music. They tried to take 2 teachers out and lay them off. Parents said, we're not putting our children in for a day. We're going to show you how angry you are. Took their children out for a day, shut the school completely. I think there were 6 students that went to school that day, and we had a big rally after school. All it took was a suggestion at a parents' association meeting that something needed to, not only in bringing it off, but in getting the school board to back off of the attack. That's the kind of action we can get, and we can stop all of this, and we can get more. That's my main point. We can get more resources, because these resources are terrible. They're terribly under-resourced schools. And in this day and age, in such economic and financial crisis, tell me we can't convince the general public that schools need to be sanctuaries, need to be providing more. They're the linchpin of the community. They want to turn the linchpin of a neighborhood in community into an abandoned building in a neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood of Finney High. That building goes down. It's just going to sit there. It's eventually going to burn. You know, the way the old Cass Tech caught fire a few days ago. Unfortunately, it didn't burn down. The new